my comments earlier about the incredible fiscal crises we continue to be in. Ann shared some comments with us this morning about concerns about this benchmark salary data. And Ann, I'm wondering if you might be willing to share those comments with the board.
Sure, Tom. And I did this afternoon send out a memo with a spreadsheet attached of the payments that are still due to the library systems. And in that memo, I quoted from the comptroller's website, one of my my go-to sources for any news about the fiscal condition of our state. Let me just read to you from their last quarterly newsletter. Even with the increased revenues, the state's general revenue fund bill backlog has remained near or above record highs. At the end of March, the Office of the Comptroller had $4.5 billion in unpaid bills, with some vouchers dating back to mid-October 2010. That compares to the $4.4 billion it had on hand at the same time last year. So clearly, even though there's been a tax increase, even though the financial, the health of the state is certainly improving, we are still in a deep, deep financial crisis. Payment delays are still part of the picture, very, very much part of the picture. When I responded to Sue Erickson about our office, the review that we had made of the employment agreement, one of the comments that I made was that compensation levels should be set in the context of state government, not in the context of other analyses. And that is because the revenue that will pay these salaries, and I'm not talking specifically about any one position here, the revenue that pays these salaries comes from state revenue or state grants. So all of the considerations about compensation levels must be made in that context. The part of the enabling legislation for library systems says that one of the charges is to foster the economic and efficient utilization of public funds. Our office will not approve budgets where that's not demonstrated. And that includes compensation levels that are out of step with the broader context of state government. Not talking about whether anyone's worth this or worth that. I'm talking about the yardstick that needs to be used. It's just nothing else is appropriate from our office's point of view. I'll pause here and ask my colleagues if they have anything to add.
We were asked to send the Southern.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Pat. This morning, whatever, on the conference call, I was asked to send the information from the Southern Merger Group. They've done a lot, like you've done a lot, with establishing salary guidelines, and we wanted to send those to you. They seemed in keeping, they seemed appropriate. No one here is going to say, you must pay X, you must pay Y, you must pay Z. What we are saying is that the consideration of those compensation levels needs to be measured against state government. Anything else?
Okay, thank you, Ann.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think those are the two components that we asked for. We asked for the job description and the salary benchmark, and that's where we are with them today.
Okay, are there any questions or comments here at MLS? Kathy.
Kathy Cardell, on the document 17.1, I On the first page of text, in the very first paragraph on the selection of consultant, I think perhaps there are 2 words that are incorrect. The merger transition board conducted, I'm assuming it's a competitive request for proposal,
Oh.
and to identify potential service providers, not identify.
Yes.
Well, maybe.
Okay, Sue, do you have any questions or comments?
I have just one question. When you're looking at the salary compensation, are you looking at years of service that people have had in those positions? Or are they starting out as everybody starting anew?
Sue, my understanding is that what MAI did was to create a 3-tiered system, and so that there's what one might call entry level, low point, then there's a midpoint, and then there's a maximum. And my understanding is that their advice is that based on the experiences, and the education and the skills of the person that you are hiring, is that you would use that range of salary to determine where that individual fit in the salary range. So it's not a calculated formula, but it goes from a low entry level amount for a person who can meet the job duties up to a maximum amount, and that those are there's some considerable differences in the bottom to the top amounts.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Charlotte, do you have any questions?
Well, maybe this isn't the place where this goes, but based on the amendment that we heard earlier, that all current individual 5 system staff become rail staff July 1, there will be selection and hiring, and there will be individuals severed. So Rails is going to have a severance policy for them?
Good question. Tom, do you want to address that? We discussed that a little bit earlier.
We did discuss that today as we were talking about the employee handbook, that there is not in the current handbook that you approved a severance policy, and that we felt that the board would want to consider that. It would be action for the board that would be in place on July 1, but we certainly would want to prepare, and perhaps even this board would be willing to consider the language of an add to the employee handbook regarding severance for any employee that would be severed after July 1.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Phyllis, do you have any questions or comments?
No more questions.
Okay, anything else here at MLS? Okay.
I'm going to open it up. My concern is that you get what you pay for in salaries. We are looking at a salary range which is significantly less than directors of member libraries are going to be making as compared to someone who is managing a district of 5 libraries, 27,000 square miles, 1,700 libraries that they're going to be responsible for. And I just personally have a real hard time of having an executive director of a library system which would be making significantly less than a member library director will be making. And I note out of the Chicago Tribune and Courier Journal Star, in the state of Illinois, there are 2,763 people, including 280 superintendent of schools, that make more money than the governor of the state of Illinois.
Okay, I'm sorry, any other comments?
It's very interesting information. I'm glad you shared it. Thank you.
It is.
Thank you for sharing. Catherine?
I think we need to pay attention to geographic area also and cost of living. I think that needs to be relevant to the salary.
Anne, would you like to speak to that?
I'll say the same thing I said this morning. That's really not a consideration in the state government world. There are salary schedules regardless of where you are in Illinois.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot of government offices in the city of Chicago that are paid according to the same salary schedules as those of us in Springfield who have a much lower cost of living, albeit, but it is the case.
Anything else? Okay, anything else, Tom?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, thank you.